Hi, and welcome back for this third part of the tutorial for the creation of a card game with Battle Grid. This is the first course that we are doing, and today we'll see how to use an array. We have seen the theory on the previous video, so today we go straight away to work with our array. We use our usual card game program that we have done in the previous two videos. And then we go straight away here on the object type, right click, insert new object, and we can choose array. I can as usual create it from here, but I just show a new way how to add the new object on our program. Okay, now we have this array. We can check the properties from here. As you can see, we have the width that is 10, height 1, and depth 1. What does that mean? It means that our array is 10 space or 10 slots wide. It has a height of 1 and depth of 1 because that's the minimum value that it has to be. Otherwise, if we put these values to 0, the array is totally empty. We cannot access to the array because we don't have any elements. So it's like having just the name of the array but nothing as the values. So to sum up, as we said in the previous video, the width is our x of the array, the height is the y, and the depth is the z. Okay, now to access to the array, of course we can use the debug to see the values, but we want to see something on the screen during the game, so it's much easier for us. I'm not going to move the cards because that will take a little bit of time. It will make the video longer, so we can do this in a second time. Today we are going to add a new object here. That's the text. And we will see the value of our array just in the text box here. So it will be much easier for us to check what's happening into the array. Okay, for now with the text we are fine. We don't need to change name, it's fine, leave it text. And we go here on our event sheet. Now, since we have learned how to use our functions, we are going to add a new function that we call it function on function show array. So we can see at any time what we have in our array every time we call this function here. We're going to call our function, so just duplicate here, full end, I just leave it disabled for now, and I enable this, and I call this I just know, as I said in the previous video, I don't need to type because I can just pick from here, show array, and this way it's much safer rather than typing, because if I type, so if I create this call of function before the creating the function itself, I might mistype. If I type, for example, underscore, it's not going to happen anything because it's not show underscore array, but it is show space array. So you always need to be careful with these things here. As I said before, first you create a function, after you call the function, and you avoid this problem here. Okay, now that we have this function, we want to say that you show to us what there is in the array. Now we start with just one value of the array, and we use our text. We go here on set text, and we're going to write, so what we write here on the double quotation is just text. It's not any calculation, it's just whatever we write here, it will be displayed on the screen in the exactly same way. So I just type array underscore deck index dot x of 0. Just give me 1 second and equals, and I will explain you why I'm doing this. First of all, array deck is our array that you're going to rename. I suggest you always to give a specific name to the array because you might use much more than one array in your game. So always better to specify which one. Giving a unique name, you can get confused. In our case, deck is perfect. And why I'm writing this way? So this is more or less the same language that we have in construct 2. So it's easier for us to understand what we're going to display. So this is just for us a visual feedback. and then here we are going to put the real value. We use a ampersand, and then here we actually write the real value that is present in the array at this point. So this point is checking the array among the x index. The first value is always 0 because it's 0 base index, as we said many times. So here, rather than typing, I just use this expression window. That's much easier. So array_dec at, as you can see, here suggests me exactly the same formula. Array_dec dot at means go at this position. The first position is the x, and the x occurs is only one value because we have a one-dimensional array. But if we have 2 or 3 dimensions, I will have to use comma y comma z. Of course, replace x, y, z with the value I want to check. So in our case, I want to check only the 0. As being the first value is checking on the index of the x, and I can skip the other values. If I skip, it means automatically they are 0, so I don't need to type. If I write comma 0, it's the same thing, nothing changed. So I'm going here, and now I'm going to get as a result on my text screen the content of the array at this field. This is the first field, the first slot we have in our array. So let's check the result. We have a preview. Okay, so this is what we have. Array_dec, array_dec, and index.x of 0. This is equals. This until equals all the text that you wrote it. And here with the at, we make the junction of the string and the value. That's why I left the space after the equals, because it's still a character that I need to add to have a visual space. Otherwise the 0 will be attached to the equal. And that's what we have now, the result. If we have 0, we have 0 because by default an array that doesn't have any information inside gives as a result 0. An array can be filled with both at the same time, of course in different slot, values that are data as numbers or alphanumerical, so be numerical or alphanumerical. So it can be, you can have one slot they say the name of your character, another slot they say how many HP he has left, for example. So you can mix things as you want. Now we go back to our program, and we want to check to improve this visual feedback we have. So here on the text, rather than having text at the beginning when you start, we type array dec data. Okay, so visually we have this result here, and then we're going to have always this information ready for us at the beginning of our screen, our text. So just little visual thing. At this point I'm going to add a sub event so we can loop all the elements we have in on our array, and then we go array_dec, and we choose for each element. For each element I can loop all the axes. We have only now one dimensional array, so x is enough. So we loop every value of the x axis, and then what we're going to do, we just copy this. I just disable this temporary, and I change this set text. So rather than just overwrite the information that is inside our text window, we're just going to add new line with a new text. So to add a new line, I'm going to write new line here, and then this array_dec, I'm going to remove it because we'll have already written here as a first sentence at the beginning of the window. And then I go back here and I change this from set text to append text. So in this way I'm not going to overwrite, but as I said before, we are going to add the new line. So you normally append text, you extend the text what you're doing. I have a new line because I write a new line. Otherwise it will just be text next. Every loop I'm doing here will be just a series of numbers next to each other with no space. That's why I'm making a new line. Okay, now we want to get the value at that is in each slot of our array, so we need to retrieve the value somehow. So we use, rather than 0, this is a fixed index, we use the expression here, array_dec. As you can see, there are all a list of options you can do with the array. If we take current value, that is a current value for each loop. So being this one just a loop, this one here, this is a looping like a normal for. So rather than make it 4, 0 to 9 to loop our 10 values of array, we use this option. It does all automatically. After we check how to do the same thing using the for, I prefer to use the for because with for you have more control of what you're doing. So normally I don't use this built-in function. This because sometimes you might have option that you want to choose to check only like last 3 or 4 values of the array, so you don't need to loop all the array and then put another if inside to check to skip which part of the loop you're doing. So much more control. So this is good only if you want to loop every single element from the first to the last one. So for now let's continue with this one. So I'm going to copy the same expression I use here. So this is just a visual thing, okay, but to make it transform this in value, I need to remove from the double quotation mark, add ampersand, and then I do the same here before the bracket. As you can see, change the color, so all the one in red is actually text that I'm going to see on the screen. It has no value of whatsoever, so whatever is I'm writing here, it will be there. If I write tomato pasta, it will be written tomato pasta. It's not any kind of information of data. So I have this visual text. This is a real information. That is the value of the loop that I'm doing at this point for each element, and I will get the same information here. So rather than array_dec.at I at 0, I just write at the position of the loop I'm doing. So the loop starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So at this stage, I need to add the values on the array. To add values, I go on the function create_dec, and here where I do the loop from 0 to 9, I'm going to add action array_dec, and then I say set value at, I can choose x, x, y, x, y, z. So I just have only one dimension array, so as usual I pick this one. The coordinate I'm going to put on x, so which field I'm going to put the value. For this I'm going to use the loop index, because if you remember, the loop index goes from 0 to 9, and every time it loops, it put the value on the card of the instance variable 0 to 9 in order to identify the cards in different way. And same thing for the frame. So we're going to do the value that we put on the array is the same value we assign to the card, so we can match them together. So the loop is at 0, at the slot 0 of the array on the x index, we put the value 0. When the loop index say 1, mean we have a pointer at the slot number 1 of the index x, and then we put the value to the loop index, that is 1, and so on. So everything will be filled in order from 0 to 9. Okay, now we can test and see. As you can see, this is getting the value that we wrote on the formula, if you remember, and this is actually, so this is where it's pointing the index x. So this is the first slot, that is slot number 0, second slot, and so on, and this slot number 9, and the value in that slot is 0 to 9 because it's matching the loop index. Of course, this can change in the future. You can have like I don't know what game are we going to do, but it could be goblin, orc, ghost, ogre, or whatever, or spaceship, robots, and so on. So it doesn't have to be numbers from 0 to 9. We'll see later on this thing here. So we can go back to our program here and add something else. Now we see how to resize our array. So we're going to do system wait 2 seconds. Okay, and then we're going to call a new function. New function, we call it on function resize. Then we can just call it directly from here before putting anything inside the function, so we don't forget that we have to call it. Otherwise we might forget, because we focus on putting things inside the function and then we forget to call it, and we wonder why it's not working just because we didn't write the call to action. Okay, at this stage we want to resize the array, so we go inside array deck. As you can see, all the options here. There is a set size, and I want to change the width from the actual 10. I'd say I put to 5. So at this stage we have after this operation we cut out 5 elements to our array, so we get only the elements from 0 to 4. And now to see what's the result, we can still use the usual function show array. Since we have discovered how to use the function, now we extensively use them. That's why I was talking in the previous video. They are much time saver. This function is something that you must use all the time because it's unbelievable how much time you save. So the things that after resizing the function, if we call show array, what's happening that we are going to append once again what's the result, making a big list of them become so messy. So we don't really understand really what's happening. So I'm going to call again set text. So in this way, set text is going to delete whatever there is on the Windows text, and then we're going to put this as a first line, and it will looks like if we are going just to clean what is under the first line, but in reality we clean even the first line. Anyway, just is a visual trick. So first of all, when we call resize, we delete the text, we replace what is written, we write just array deck data as a first line, we size the array, we show what is the array as a 5 elements, and then that's it. After we show another thing, and let's see, wait a couple of seconds, we have 0 to 9, and then as you can see now is looping all the array because it's doing the for each x element as we saw before, and show the value from 0 to 4. It doesn't show anything else because the array has been resized. It means that everything that is over the 5th element has been cut it out, is lost forever. So be careful when you do this kind of things. Now I'm going to add another wait, maybe 1 second, and I want to show you that I can extend the size of the array. So I'm going to put now to 15 elements, and I will show you again the elements inside the array. So once more, I'm going to clear the text window, so we have a clear element, we don't append underneath as usual, and we see what's happening. But before showing this, I'm going to replace this part here that I was talking before, and basically what we're going to do is, rather than use this loop that is proprietary of the array plugin, you're going to use a normal loop. So add another condition, system for, and then I'm going to leave this with no name, it doesn't really matter. Start the first value as usual, we are 0 base index, so has to be 0, the first value of the x, And then the last value, I could write 9, but when I expanding or reducing the size of the array, every time I don't really know what's happening, I can change within my game for any reason. So I can just write a fixed number. It has to be something that change. And the only way to retrieve this value is going to array deck. And then I choose here the width. Okay, now we have the loop that goes from 0 to a value that is equals to the array width. The only thing you have to keep in mind when you do this operation is that the width is actually one value higher than the actual number of slots, because if I leave it as it is, it goes from 0 to 10, so it's looping 11 elements. If I go on the array deck, that's what they give me, 10. This is the width. So to avoid mistakes, you need to put -1. -1 because being 0 index base, you need to reduce 1. So the maximum number the start will be not 10 but 9. So 0 to 9 as usual. Do this, don't forget it. But as I said before, this is very useful using the loop in this way, because if I want to loop only a certain part of my array and not all the array, I have much control. I can change these two values as I want with variables or whatever. Okay, at this point I need to modify this value as well, because I don't have any more array deck at current value because I remove it from here. So I need to use loop index at this stage, loop index, and here is the same thing, loop index, otherwise it wouldn't work. And then this one I can get rid of this now. So 0 to 9, then become 5 elements, then become 15 elements, and of course all the new elements are empty because we didn't put any value inside. Okay, that's good for now. Now the good things about the function is that, as I said in my previous video, I can just disable this function here. Now for now, duplicate, disable this, and then I get rid of about all this block of instruction that I really don't need. So it's very useful for testing, not only for programming. So in this way, we're going to call pop. That is one of the way to manipulate our array. And of course, I should have created early the function and not rename there, but I'm quite sure to don't make mistake with just 3 characters. I should be able to remember to write it. See, I just did mistake. Of course, just mistyped. That's why I had to do it the other way. And yeah, so what are we going to do? First of all, let's see what pop is. So we're going to array that. And there are the manipulation functions. Pop. The pop say whether to remove at the beginning or at the end of the array. So basically, we have our array and we decide to remove one element that is at the beginning of the array or at the end of the array. In our case, we start with checking the back. So we remove one element at the end of the array, means at the actual slot 9 if we don't expand or cut the array. On the axis of the x, because we don't have y and z to manipulate, it's only one field. So we go down, and to see actually the real changing, as usual, we need to call show array, otherwise everything is on the computer memory and we can't have a visual feedback that we put after the pop. But before the pop, we need to put the usual cleaning of our window. So when we have our data displayed with the append function here, we don't create a long list as usual. Let's try from 0 to 9, and then see, as you can see, after 2 seconds this element has been removed. So as I said before, we always have a loop for all the elements in the array, so it's not that I'm not checking this element. Actually, the element doesn't exist anymore. So we are going to do the other way around, removing the pop from the front of the array, and let's see what's happening. From index 0 is 0. After, as you can see, after we always have to start the count the array size from 0. So whatever was on the index 1 goes to the new index 0. So basically the index has been changed as names, but the value, as you can see, correspond because the first value was 0 and now it has been disappeared. So at the index 0 there's the first lot. Now the first lot is this element here, element 1, and so on from 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 elements. Element 0 is gone, lost. Okay. Similarly, we can check the other instructions. So we're going to remove a pop. Let's call first the function first. So let's not do same mistake. Now we check push. So to do push, we just copy this function here. I will rename it in push. Then I call here push. Disable this pop call. Push. Then I'm not explaining anymore. You know already why I set up the text here and why I call the text. And we show array, so it will be always the same for all these instruction. We are going to check. From here we have doing pop. We go back, we select push, and now I want to add on the front of our array, still always axis of the x, a new value. In this case I put 99. So from now on the first value will be on the slot 0 become 99 because I just push inside the one new value and push all the other elements increasing one by one the position on the array. So we will have now 11 elements in total on the array. Let's say waiting the usual 2 seconds, and now we have 99 on the first slot, and we have pushed all the elements down by 1 because we put only one value inside. And then we have now index 10 that we didn't have before we reach only 9, and the value is 9. So this is working fine. Same thing quickly if you push at the back. What we get, 2 seconds, and then we have the new elements at the back. This will be something to discuss later on in the next video about FIFO and LIFO. Well, I will talk about this later, and it will be something interesting to learn. Next things to do, again, we copy this push and we call in something else. So the next one will be delete. So we want to delete one specific element of the array for any reason as usual. Go here, call delete first, otherwise it doesn't work. Delete, and go here, back, choose delete. Let's say I want to delete the fifth element of our array, or axis x, and then let's see what's happening. Values from 0 to 9, this is number 5. So the value number 5 is being deleted, not because it was checking the value, but it was checking actually the index at 5. But removing the slot number 5, it cannot have one array with just empty space between values. So what it's going to do when you cut the restrain elements that are over the value of 5 are pushed inside. So everything has been renumbered from that point. So whatever was 6 become the index of 5, whatever was 7 become 6, and so on. In fact, you can check the value here. This was on the index x at 6. Okay, so this is another easy things to learn. I'm trying to do quickly because there are many elements. Sorry if I'm rushing a little bit, but try to make it quite compact. Again, I'm going to duplicate, delete in something else. We have now reverse to do. After we will have to do sort. I think we probably are done with that one. So as usual, we go back here, we find reverse. Reverse has only one option to choose the axis, X. So reverse is basically swapping the order of the array. Whatever it was the first element become the last element, and so on. So swapping every element. You have to call the function first, otherwise it doesn't work. Reverse. It's always the capital letter at the beginning. Okay, and we see this happening. 0 to 9 become 9 to 0. That was another easy function to check. The last one is sort, to explore. Sort. We call it sort. Now to call it sort, to have something visually happening, I need really to leave reverse on. Otherwise I can't really see what's happening, so I put a wait of 2 seconds in between, and then we go back here and we do sort, and always sort in the X axis. So what we're going to have at the beginning is that we have our values from 0 to 9, we wait 2 seconds, they become reverse, so from 9 to 0, and then we sort basically we put in a alphanumerical order or numerical order, depends of course the value we have, always as you know first numbers and then letters, and we sort out in order these values that are inside the array. So we will have now visual feedback. 0 to 9 become 9 to 0, we reverse, and then we sort, we go back to in order 0 to 9. And this was all the elements that we did. So this was a minimal array introduction. Of course there is lots of things more we can do with an array. This was just to give you a base to start with. Next time, as I said before, we can talk about a FIFO and a LIFO. That's basically how to handle a code or pile of information. A very interesting concept. And also we see another kind of a manipulation, but this one we really have to do manually. It's not pre-made on constructor. So with a new manipulation, we're going to shuffle our cards in the deck. And we'll see there are many ways to do. Of course, we'll explore one because I can show you all the ways, otherwise it would be an extremely long video, but just, you can experiment with your own way as well. Thank you again for, as usual, for being here with me all this time. If you like this video, please click like, share with your friends if you think it's useful information. And if you want to know more about my upcoming video, click the subscription link and hit the bell so you get a notification when anything is coming out. And I think that's it. This is, as usual, I'm Simone from Biim.Games. I say it at the end this time, so I cut a little bit at the beginning. And I see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.